Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for dropping in. We're working on the Valiant as usual, and it's time to start some of the plumbing and kind of get the layout and figure out how things are going to go. And this car has a couple of specific challenges. It's going to have two separate fuel cells, one for pump gas that I can drive the car with, from one track to another, and then a small cell for race gas. And then I've got to have some way of switching between the two different kinds of fuel for when I'm driving on the road or making a pass on the track. So I've kind of been figuring out valving and how that's all going to work. And I think I've got a system kind of worked out. And now I'm just working on where am I going to put it. So I'll turn you around here and kind of show you what I got going on in the car. So here's the trunk of the Valiant. Obviously that's going to be my street gas tank, and that little tank there is race gas. So I have to plumb both of these from the pump to a valve out to the front, and then from that pump to the same valve out to the front, and then also the returns have to be plumbed back into the respective tanks. So where am I going to mount the valves, and how are they going to be accessed, and all of that stuff? Well, I've been thinking about this quite a bit, and I think in this area here I'm going to build a little box that mounts the two valves and basically fits in there, and allows me to just use some bulkhead fittings to go out to the lines to go up front to the car. So these fuel cells use the Aeromotive 340 Stealth pumps, which is plenty for this car. If you're not sure about that, you can, I worked it out using brake-specific fuel consumption. Thanks to my course at EFI University, I understand all this stuff now. Thanks, Ben. But anyway, these pumps will do 340 liters per hour, or roughly 90 gallons per hour, which when you convert that into pounds of fuel required, it's plenty for a naturally aspirated motor like I've got. It's plenty. It'll do like 850 horsepower or so, and I'm not there. So we'll just kind of walk up front, and I'll kind of show you what's been going on. I've got coils kind of roughly in place. This set is still loose because I had to take the headers off. But anyway, things are tight. Clearance for this input here is tight. I may end up cutting an inch out of this manifold and welding it back together, but we'll see how that goes. Not the end of the world if we have to do that. Anyway, this is starting the plumbing. I got my fuel filter, got my AccuSump, got all that kind of stuff mounted. And then I'll take you over here to the workbench. And I've just been doing a little bit of layout and kind of figuring out what I need to do in terms of laying out the sheet metal for this box. And I've got a piece of sheet metal sitting behind me there. We'll cut that out, and I've got one of those little 3-in-1, brake bender shear deals, and it'll bend this up pretty good. This is the Fragola Race-Rite PTFE hose that I'm going to be using for the flexible parts of this system, and then for the most of the from the front to the back of the car is going to be 5/8 aluminum tubing. And I thought I had a piece of it laying around here, but I guess not. Oh yeah, there it is, along with the tubing bender. So this is the 5/8 tubing that we're going to use, and the bender does a nice job. So I'll be able to bend that up. So most of the way from the back of the car to the front is going to be this tubing. There'll be flexible connections from the firewall up to the rails, obviously, the regulator and stuff, and then also flexible hose from the bulkhead fittings on this down to the hard line. So there's a lot of like thinking about it and how you're going to do it and what's it going to look like, and there's a lot of fiddly-deeing around, but at the end of the day, I think it's going to be fine. This box is going to be a little bit interesting to bend because instead of just a regular flat box, I've got this goofy curve here, and you know that's going to be tough to bend a box and flange on with curved sides. So I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do there. But anyway, that's what we're working on now. And as we get a little bit closer to doing anything significant, I'll bring you back. So, as you can see, plans have changed a little bit. Rather than make a box that sits this way, I decided to make a sort of a vertical wall here. And I'm going to mount the valves behind this panel. The handles will come through kind of like that. And the valves will get mounted here and here. And then I think maybe up in the middle here someplace, I'm going to mount this PWM controller for my fuel pump. So that probably will go somewhere up there like that. So what I've done is I've obviously made a cardboard template like I do with everything. Cardboard aided design, right? And so figured out how that's going to mount in there, and then go over to the bench, and I've got it laid out on this piece of sheet metal. I don't know if you can see the lines, but I've got it laid out and kind of where the bends are going to have to be and that sort of stuff. So now I just have to trim this out. I basically cut it down to size and then trim out all the areas that we don't need and then bend it up. Then I've got to drill some holes in it so we can screw it in place. But before I bend it, I'm probably going to put it in the bead roller and put a little bit of a pattern on it just to give it some rigidity and stiffness and strength and stuff. So yeah, the plan changed a little bit from the original, but you know, that's what happens when you're building these things. So I'll get this thing cut out, and maybe once we get the bead roller set up, I'll bring you back. Okay, well, we got out of the bead roller. I had a bit of a problem there where I was turning it in the bead roller and I had the tripod too close to the piece of metal, and it bumped into it and it made me go off this corner here. I don't know if you can see that, but it made me kind of goof up this corner, so I had to go back and fix it, but got it pretty fixed up pretty good. So now it's time to trim it and make the bends in it and clean up the edges and take the sharp edges and stuff off of it, and then the valves are going to mount on the back side of it, and all you'll see really is this handle part coming up through. And then I also have to put these valves in the mill, and see if I can show this to you. the valve itself is not super flat. Let me just get something kind of flat here. And so where it mounts, you can see it kind of rocks on there. So I'm going to put this in the mill and just kind of skim this and make that nice and flat, so that when I go to bolt that to the back side of the sheet metal, it'll sit nice and flat and it'll be mounted securely. So there's a few things we got to do, and you know, it is what it is. Just all part of custom making anything. So I'm going to get to work on cleaning this up and trimming it, and then when we go over to the bender and make the bends, bring you back. So, as you can tell, I've been fast forwarding through a lot of this. I wanted to show you kind of what's involved, but I also have to admit that after I got this all done, got the valves mounted, got everything installed, everything lined up, everything fit nice, then I put the fittings on the valves, and I realized that I mounted the valves too low in the panel, and I had to completely remake the entire panel. So a whole day, basically, I lost because I had to redo it. So, as they say at Fab Rats, we know it's nice because we did it twice. That's the way stuff goes. Anyway, here's a quick look at the new panel, and you'll see the stuff I did with the bead roller looks a little different. Well, welcome back. I haven't made any videos in a while. I apologize for not putting out any videos in the last month or so. Just time. Been really busy. Have been working on the car, making progress. I'll show you some of that. You know, it's one of those things. I don't make a living off of YouTube, so sometimes life gets in the way. But anyway, I'll show you what I've got here in front of me. This is the fuel valve panel that's going to mount in the trunk ahead of the fuel cells and just beneath the Dutchman panel. And what we've got here are two three-way valves. These are just from McMaster-Carr. These are half-inch valves, half-inch flow, and then I've got appropriate AN connections on them. And so the way this works is this is the fuel filter that goes to my race gas cell. So the pump will pump fuel through here, through this hose, and into this side of this valve. When the handle is turned appropriately, it'll take this fuel, it'll send it out here, out this line to the hard line, to the engine, to the front of the car. If I move the valve in the opposite direction, this is the filter for pump gas. So pump gas goes in here, goes up through here, into this side of the valve, and then we'll get pump gas coming out to the motor. And then this is the return valve. It works exactly the same way, except on these ones, the return, this is the input to the valve, and then the output, depending on which fuel cell I'm trying to return stuff to, you know, it'll either go out here to the pump gas tank, or it will go out here to the race gas fuel cell. And so that's basically it. And this just allows me to fairly easily switch between the two different fuel types. And I'll walk you over to the car. I have the fuel cells mounted. I use two different ways to do it, and they both work good, so I don't really think I have a favorite. So here's the race gas fuel cell, and I just made some little triangular brackets there that you can see. And then on this one, what I did was, if I can get the camera down in there, I made some steel rod, and I made a loop and did that whole thing, and adjusters, and so they're both strong. They're both super well in there, like the car could go upside down, never have a problem. So now I'm getting ready to install that valve panel and run the bulkhead fittings through the sheet metal, which go, if I can turn a light on here, maybe you can see, go up through those two holes up in there, and then that valve panel mounts right in here. You've seen it before in other videos. So yeah, that's where we're at, and I'll probably have a chance to do a little more videoing as things progress now, but it's just been really busy, and haven't really taken the time to do the videos the way I would really have liked to. Sorry about that, I'm actually in the shot. So as I was saying, I haven't really just had time to do the videos the way I'd really like to, so it's one of those things. But hopefully moving forward we can do them a few more. I'm going to still go back to trying to put out one a week, but Six Summer was just on, and I've been following that pretty closely. I've got friends that are racing in that, and so yeah, we'll see how the videos go, but anyway, I'll get back to you on the next one. Thanks for watching.